The contract that saved her life. The spaceport was loud, busy, and full of creatures from different worlds. Ships came and went. Merchants shouted prices. Security bots hovered in the air, scanning everyone who entered. Jace adjusted the strap on his bag and walked forward. He had just landed on Kirel 5, a planet known for its strange laws and stranger people. He didn't plan to stay long. He just wanted a few supplies and maybe some fuel. That's when he saw her. She stood near the information booth. Tall, elegant, and clearly not human. Her skin was soft silver with a faint glow. Her long black hair was tied in a braid. She wore a deep blue cloak, and her eyes, those bright, scared eyes, locked onto his. She walked straight to him. "Please," she said in a quiet voice, "pretend to be my husband. Just for 5 minutes." Jace blinked. "What?" "They are watching. I'll explain later, please." Before he could answer, she grabbed his arm and leaned close. Her grip was strong but shaking. 2 armored guards appeared at the far end of the hallway. They looked straight at them and began walking. "Fast, smile," she whispered. "Hold me close now." Jace followed her lead. He placed his hand gently around her waist. She smiled back at him, even though her eyes were full of fear. The guards walked past them slowly, scanning them, then moved on. He waited until they were out of sight. "What the hell is going on?" he asked. "I'll pay you," she said quickly. "I just need you to act like we're married. If I'm alone, they'll take me. You don't understand what they do to unclaimed females on this world." "I'm not looking for trouble," Jace said. "They will take me if you leave." She whispered again. Her voice cracked. "You can't leave." Jace stared at her. She was breathing fast now. There were marks on her wrist, old bruises. Maybe she wasn't lying. "My name is Nerali," she said. "I'm from House Aravex, but I ran away." "Why?" Jace asked. "Because I was being given as a bride to someone twice my age. Someone cruel. A deal made for power, not love. On this planet, if you don't belong to a man, you become public property. That's barbaric." "Yes," she said softly. "That's why I ran. But the law still hunts me." Jace looked around. The port was full of alien officials. More guards were patrolling now. "If I help you," Jace said, "this doesn't become a mess for me, right?" "I'll pay you in credits," she said quickly. "Double what you make in a month. I just need to get past this checkpoint. Then we'll go separate ways." "Fine," Jace muttered. "But after this, we're done." They walked toward the gate together. A large alien officer stopped them. "Name?" the officer asked, scanning them with a blue light. "Jace Ward," he said. "Relation to the female?" "Husband," Jace said. The officer narrowed his eyes. "Species do not mix easily." "She was born on Earth Colony Sigma 12, Jace. Lead smoothly, half human. Marriage under Earth law." The officer stared for a long second. Then he nodded. "Proceed." Jace let out a breath he didn't know he was holding. Once they were outside the gates, Nerali didn't let go of his arm. "I thought we were done," Jace said. "They have trackers," she said. "If I'm seen alone, the alarm goes off. We're not safe yet." "How long do I have to pretend to be your husband?" "Until we leave this planet," he groaned. "You planned this, didn't you?" "No," she said softly. "I just hoped someone kind would show up today," Jace sighed. She didn't seem dangerous, just scared. And maybe too proud to show it. They found a quiet place to sit in a corner of the port. She pulled out a small chip from her cloak and handed it. "To him, your payment," she said. "In case you think I'm lying." Jace scanned it. It was real. "And a lot. You don't even know me," he said. "Why trust a stranger?" "Because everyone else here already sees me as property," she replied. "But you looked at me like a person." He didn't know how to answer that. So he didn't. He just looked at the crowds moving around them, the guards still watching from the shadows. He had come here for fuel, supplies, peace. Instead, he now had a fake wife and a real problem, and for some strange reason, he didn't want to walk away. Hunted by her own kin, Jace never liked staying in one place too long. But now he was sitting in a cheap hotel room with a strange alien girl who said they were married. Nirali stood by the window, watching the street below. Her silver skin shimmered faintly in the moonlight. She looked calm, but her fingers kept twitching, always alert. Always ready to run. "You didn't tell me we were still being followed," Jace said, throwing his coat on the table. "I didn't know," she replied, "until I saw that drone again. It's not local. It belongs to my family. Your family sends machines to hunt you?" "Not family," she said. "The house. It's different. It's all about power and bloodlines. I broke their rules." "That makes me a traitor," Jace rubbed his face. "You weren't lying." "No," she said quietly. "And if they catch me, they'll do more than just drag me home." She pulled up her sleeve and showed him a scar just above her wrist. It wasn't fresh, but it was brutal. Thin lines crossed over each other like someone had carved symbols into her skin. "They did that to you? For disobedience. I refused to speak to my assigned suitor during the family gathering." Jace stared at her. "You're serious?" "I've never been more serious," Nirali said. Outside, the street looked calm. But Jace noticed something odd. One of the same guards from the spaceport was now sitting on a bench across the road, pretending to read a screen pad. "We need to move," he said. Nirali didn't argue. She grabbed her small pack and followed him down the side stairs. The hotel's back door led into a narrow alley filled with trash bins and dripping steam vents. The air smelled of rust and burnt wires. "We'll go to my ship," Jace said. "Hide there for now." She nodded but kept looking behind them. Her senses were sharper than his, always scanning, always calculating. As they turned the corner, a sudden voice echoed through the alley. "Halt!" A black armored figure dropped from above. He was at least 7 feet tall, with a red scanner eye in the middle of his helmet. Ali gasped. "That's a house enforcer. They found me." Jace stepped in front of her without thinking. "She's under Earth protection," he said loudly. "She's my wife." The enforcer paused for half a second. Then, like a machine, he moved forward. "Unauthorized claim. Unrecognized mating bond. Subject is wanted by high decree of Aravek's bloodline. You will not interfere." "I said she's mine," Jace growled. "And if you touch her, I'll break that shiny face of yours." The enforcer raised his arm, and a blue plasma blade hissed into existence. Jace pulled out his compact blaster and fired. The shot hit the enforcer's shoulder, barely denting the armor, but it gave them time to run. They sprinted down the alley. Jace dragged Nirali behind him, twisting around corners, pushing over crates to slow their pursuer. The enforcer was fast, too fast. They reached a busy plaza full of lights and vendors. Jace pulled Nirali into a dense crowd and whispered, "Don't stop, keep smiling." Together, they moved like a couple in love. He even kissed her forehead to sell the lie. "Where's your ship?" she asked breathlessly. "Doc G Bay 12, hurry." As they weaved through the people, another drone appeared in the sky above them, scanning the area. "They're not going to stop," she said. "They'll chase me to the end of the galaxy. Then let's make them work for it." They reached the dock. His ship, a rusty but reliable model, sat at the far end. The ramp was still open from his last visit. Once inside, he sealed the doors, activated the jammer, and dropped the ship into stealth mode. Ailey collapsed into a seat, gasping for breath. "I didn't think anyone would ever protect me like that," she said. "I didn't plan to," Jace admitted. "But I hate bullies." She looked at him with strange, glowing eyes. "You're not like the males I know, because I don't see you as something to own." For a while, they sat in silence, the hum of the ship wrapping around them like a soft blanket. Then Jace asked, "Why didn't you tell me everything before?" "Because I was afraid," Nerali said. "If I told you the truth, you might leave. But I think you're the only reason I'm still free." "You hired me to be your fake husband," Jace said, leaning back. "Now it's feeling a lot less fake." She gave him a soft smile. "Then maybe it's time I stop pretending too." Outside, the enforcer walked the empty dock, scanning, searching, unaware that the ship had already cloaked itself and vanished into the dark sky. The fugitive wife and the space farmer, the stars looked calm through the ship's window. But Jace knew peace was only temporary. They had escaped Kirel 5, but not the danger. Nerali sat across from him, her hands folded in her lap. She looked tired, more from fear than from running. The silver glow of her skin had dimmed, like a flame struggling to stay alive. "Where are we going?" she asked softly. "To a moon colony, quiet place. Farmers, no royal families. No bounty hunters." Jace said, "I worked there once when I was younger. They owe me." She looked at him, surprised. "You think they'll help you just like that?" "I helped the old man fix his fusion pump, saved his harvest. Farmers don't forget stuff like that." The ship entered orbit around the small moon, covered in green patches and dusty hills. A large space dome blinked below Sector 9. Not fancy but safe. For now, as the ship landed, Nerali suddenly touched his arm. "Jace, what if they come again?" "They will," he said without hesitation, "but not today." They stepped off the ship and walked toward the dome. The colony wasn't what Nerali expected. No guards, no towers. Just long rows of crops, wind turbines, and old buildings made of scrap metal and glass. It smelled like fresh dirt and oil. An older human man with a gray beard stepped out of a workshop. He squinted at them, then smiled wide. "Well, I'll be damned, Jace Ward. Never thought I'd see you again." "Good to see you, Farmer Ellen," Jace said, shaking his hand. The man noticed Nerali. "This your wife?" There was a pause. Jace glanced at her. Nerali stared back with a calm face, but he could tell she was nervous. "Yes," Jace said. "Her name's Nerali. Pretty name." "Welcome to the mud side of the galaxy, young lady," Ellen said, tipping his hat. "You both can stay in. The east cabin, it's empty. Just keep the fire going." They settled in. The cabin was small but warm. Nerali touched everything gently, books, lamps, blankets, as if they were treasures. "I've never seen a place like this," she whispered. "Everything's so simple, peaceful." "That's why I brought you here," Jace said. Later that night, they sat by the old fireplace. The flames crackled and a soft wind blew outside. Nerali wore a patched coat and held a warm mug in both hands. She looked out the window at the stars. "I used to think stars were cold," she said, "but now they feel different." "You've changed," Jace said. "Running changes people," she replied, "but so does kindness." The next day, they worked on the farm. Nerali learned how to carry water barrels, pull weeds, and patch broken wires on the solar fence. She laughed for the first time in days when a local animal like a fat rabbit with horns stole her gloves. The locals were friendly but curious. Most believed Jace and Nerali were just a human-alien couple hiding from politics. No one asked too many questions, but peace never lasted long. One evening, Jace noticed a newcomer walking through the colony. The man was tall, dressed like a traveler, but Jace saw the bulge of a concealed weapon and the scanner glasses that only bounty hunters used. "Trouble?" Nerali asked quietly, walking beside him. Jace didn't answer. He just watched the stranger talk to a local vendor, show something on a pad, and nod. "They're searching again," she whispered. "We have one night," Jace said. "Maybe two. After that, we run again." "I don't want to run anymore," Nerali said suddenly. "I want to live." Jace looked at her, really looked. The girl who once begged him to fake a marriage was now someone stronger, braver. He reached out and held her hand. Then maybe it's time we stop pretending and start fighting back. That night, they made plans. Jace began modifying his ship's signal signature, making it invisible to tracking drones. Nerali used her knowledge of royal systems to block long-range bioscanners, but it wasn't just tech. Something else was happening between them, something quiet, unspoken. They shared food, smiles, even small touches that lingered longer than needed. The lie they had once lived was slowly becoming truth. On the third night, as the stars glowed overhead, Nerali looked at Jace and said, "If I could choose anyone to be my real husband, it would have been you." Jace stared at her. His chest tightened. He hadn't expected those words, but he wanted to hear them again. "You don't have to pretend anymore," he said gently. "I'm still here." Outside, the hunter waited, watching the cabin from a distance with cold machine eyes. But inside, they weren't afraid anymore. The wedding they never meant to have, morning sunlight, touched the edge of the cabin's window. Nerali stood barefoot on the wooden floor, watching the fields move with the wind. She had never felt this kind of silence before, one that didn't carry fear, only peace. But it wasn't going to last. Jace entered, wiping grease off his hands. "Ship's almost ready. 2 more hours, and we'll be able to jump to the outer rim." Nerali turned slowly. "What if we didn't leave?" Jace raised an eyebrow. "We can't stay. That bounty hunter is still here." "I know," she said, "but I like it here. I like how people treat me, like I'm normal, like I'm not property." Jace leaned on the doorframe. "You are normal. You're just from a broken world." She walked closer, her silver skin catching the morning light. "Do you know what happens if someone claims me under my culture?" "Yeah," Jace said. "They own you." She shook her head. "Not always. There's a ritual, a binding ceremony. It protects the female from being taken again. It gives her freedom, but only if the bond is real." Jace looked at her for a long moment. "You're saying, if we do this ritual, they can't hunt you?" "They can't legally touch me," Nerali said. "It will send a signal through their systems. The contract will show I belong to someone willingly. The bounty becomes void. But we're not actually married." "Jace," she whispered, "maybe we should be." The room fell quiet. Jace could feel something shifting inside him. This wasn't just a fake act anymore. The days they had spent together, the escape, the farm, the nights by the fire, it all felt too real now to ignore. "Are you sure?" he asked. She nodded. "Yes, but we must do it before sunset. The ritual requires planetary alignment once every moon cycle. That's tonight." Later that day, Farmer Ellen offered to host the ceremony in the old greenhouse. He didn't ask why. He only smiled and said, "You two always felt like a real couple anyway." The greenhouse was cleaned and lit with glowing lamps. Locals gathered, bringing food and simple decorations. To them, it was just a sweet wedding between a human and an alien girl. To Nerali, it was her last chance at freedom. As the stars began to appear, Nerali walked down a narrow path lined with solar lanterns. She wore a white shawl made from local silk. Her silver skin shimmered like starlight. Her black braid hung over one shoulder. Jace waited at the front, wearing his best jacket, still dusty, but neat. He wasn't nervous about the crowd. He was nervous about how much he wanted this to be real. When she reached him, they placed their hands together over a crystal bowl filled with water. The local elder nodded. "Speak your truth," the elder said in a soft voice. "I bind myself." "Willingly," Nerali said. "To Jace, word of earth, not by force. Not by fear, but by choice." Jace looked into her eyes. "I bind myself willingly, not because I must, but because I want to." The elder dipped a silver leaf into the bowl and pressed it between their hands. "The bond is made." The room filled with soft light for a brief second. Nerali's eyes widened as her inner mark, a glowing tattoo hidden beneath her collarbone, flashed once and then faded. "It's done," she whispered. "They'll see it in the royal database. No one can touch me now." Cheers filled the greenhouse. The crowd clapped and shared drinks. Some danced. Nerali and Jace sat together in a quiet corner. "I never thought a fake marriage would turn into this," Jace said, half laughing. "It was never fake," she said. "Not after that first night you protected me." Jace was about to respond when his communicator buzzed a silent alarm from the ship. He stood up fast, eyes sharp. "They're here." Nerali's joy vanished. Now, 2 life forms entered the hangar, unidentified. She stood quickly, her voice steady. "They won't care about the ritual. They'll try to take me anyway. Not while I'm breathing." Jace ran to the cabin with Nerali close behind. In the distance, 2 dark figures moved through the misty fields. "They came during the wedding," Nerali said, "because they knew I'd be distracted." "But they didn't expect me," Jace growled. He grabbed his blaster and activated the ship's defense system. Nerali stood beside him, eyes glowing with quiet rage. "I'm not running this time," she said. "Good," Jace replied. "Because now you're my wife." Outside, the hunters prepared for capture. Inside, Jace and Nerali prepared for war. Secrets in her blood, the wind howled outside the cabin as the 2 dark figures moved closer. Jace stood in front of the door, weapon in hand. Nerali stood beside him, her eyes no longer scared, but sharp, glowing faintly with silver light. "They're trained enforcers," she whispered. "They won't hesitate." "Neither will I," Jace replied, gripping his blaster tighter. Suddenly, the window shattered. One of the hunters dove through, fast like a shadow. Jace fired, but the figure rolled aside, knocking the weapon from his hand. Nerali didn't scream. She stepped forward and raised her hands. A faint pulse of silver energy flickered from her fingertips. The attacker hesitated, confused. Jace lunged, tackling the enforcer from behind. They crashed into the floor. Jace punched hard, dodging. A blade swipe aimed at his ribs. The second figure burst through the back door. This one moved slower, more controlled, watching Nerali, not Jace. "You cannot hide anymore, Nerali of House Aravex," the hunter said in a deep, robotic voice. "You are marked. The blood speaks." "I belong to no one," Nerali said, her voice fierce. The hunter lifted a scanner and aimed it at her chest. A faint humming noise followed, and then something strange happened. The scanner's screen flashed red. Symbols Jace couldn't read danced wildly across it. The hunter's tone changed. Priority override detected. Subject carries Class 9 DNA. Authority. The other hunter, still struggling with Jace, froze. "Wait, what does that mean?" Jace asked, breathing hard. The second hunter lowered the scanner and looked at Nerali. "She is not just a noble, she is a carrier." Nerali closed her eyes. Jace looked at her. "What's a carrier?" She opened her mouth, but before she could speak, the first hunter reached for his belt, pulling a signal beacon. Jace reacted instantly, slamming the device with his boot. It shattered, but it was too late. A red light blinked in the sky above. The dome. A message had been sent. "They know where I am now," Nerali whispered. "The main family. The High Court. They'll come." Jace turned to her. What was he talking about? Class 9 DNA? Nerali looked down, her voice shaking now. "It means I'm more than just a noble's daughter. I was born with a mutation, a gift. My blood carries a rare gene passed down through ancient Aravex queens. It can unlock biological command systems used to control old machines, weapons, even ruling systems. So, you're a key?" "I'm the key," she said. "Whoever mates with me gains not just power but control over ancient tech, systems older than our empire. It's why I was kept in chains since I was a child." Jace stared. The puzzle pieces now made sense. You were never just running from marriage. You were running from being used. She nodded. My family made deals to sell my hand to monsters who wanted to use my bloodline to seize power. I escaped. I thought, if I stayed small, quiet, I could live. But the binding ritual, Nerali looked up, it changed everything. Now you are linked to me. If they want the power, they'll have to go through you. Jace's jaw tightened. Let them. Try. They packed fast. Farmer Ellen helped quietly, saying nothing, just patting Jace's shoulder as they loaded the ship. You two take care of each other, the old man said. That girl's got a storm in her eyes. But you, he looked at Jace, you got the fire to match it. As the ship lifted off, Nerali stared at the field below. The dome shrank behind them. A quiet place now lost to war. Where do we go? She asked. Somewhere no royal ship dares to follow, Jace said. I know an outlaw station beyond the dust rings, full of smugglers, old soldiers, and people who hate the Empire. They won't protect me, she said. No, Jace agreed, but I will. She turned toward him. You don't have to do this. I didn't have to help you at the port, he said. Didn't have to hide with you, fight with you, marry you. But I did all of it. Why? She asked. Because when I look at you, I don't see a key. I see a person, one who deserves to be free. For a moment, the silence between them felt heavier than battle. Then Nerali stepped closer and touched his hand. Then we fight together. As they passed into deep space, the stars seemed sharper, brighter, but far behind them, a massive royal warship entered Kiro 5's orbit. A voice echoed across the Empire. Locate the traitor and her human. Bring them alive. Or bring their corpses. The choice between freedom and love, the outlaw station floated like a rusted crown in the dark of space, its broken towers blinking red against the void. Pirates, smugglers, and fugitives from 100 systems called it home. Jace docked the ship with caution. This place offered no safety, but it did offer something else. Silence from the eyes of the Empire. As the ship settled, Nerali looked at him. No one here will care who I am. That's the point, Jace said. They stepped into the station's hollow corridors. Dim lights flickered overhead. Alien voices echoed from bars and black market shops. No one stopped them. No one even looked. For the first time in weeks, Nerali wasn't being hunted. They rented a room above a mechanic's den, old metal walls, one bed, broken heater, and a window that showed only darkness. It wasn't much, but it felt quiet. Jace sat on the bed, unstrapping his boots. We'll stay here a few days. Let things cool down. Nerali nodded. She stood by the window, staring at nothing. Do you ever think about going back? To Earth, I mean. Sometimes, he said. But I've been away too long. Nothing left for me there. I wonder if I'll ever stop running, she whispered. Even if we disappear, even if we hide forever, they'll always want my blood. Jace didn't speak for a while. Then he asked, what if I gave you a way out? She turned to him, curious. I know someone, Jace said. A gene scrubber. Works on biological signatures. For the right price, he can erase your bloodline code. Make you invisible to the Empire, to the House, to everyone. Nerali's eyes widened. Is that possible? Yes, he said. But it's not cheap, and it's not easy. You'd lose the link to your heritage, the power in your blood. Everything. She stepped closer. And what about you? I'll stay behind, he said softly. They'll still come for me, but if your signal disappears, they'll think I'm useless. You'll be safe. Her breath caught in her throat. You'd do that for me? Yes. She stared at him for a long time. Her voice, when it came, was almost too quiet to hear. But I don't want to disappear from you, Jace. He looked away. You deserve a life without fear. And you deserve someone who doesn't drag death behind her. You're not dragging me, he said. I walked into this with my eyes open. Tears shimmered at the edges of her eyes. I don't want to lose you. Jay stood up. He walked to her and gently cupped her face. Then we find another way together. Before either of them could speak, a knock echoed at the door. Jace's body tensed. He grabbed his weapon and opened the door slightly. A short alien stood outside, blue skin, sharp teeth, and a smirk. Jace Ward. Long time. Grin? Jace lowered the gun. What are you doing here? I heard rumors, Grin said, glancing at Nirali. About a human traveling with a royal key. Jace didn't reply. Look, Grin said. I'm not here to sell you out. In fact, I came to warn you. There's a bounty fleet one jump away. Empire-class warship. They're not guessing anymore, they know exactly where you are. How? Jace growled. Someone from the station sold your location. Price on her head is too high. Loyalty doesn't exist when credits talk louder. Jace closed the door and turned to Nirali. We need to leave. Now, but Nirali didn't move. I can't keep doing this, she said quietly. Running, hiding, watching you bleed because of me. You're not a burden. I am. And I love you for carrying it. But maybe this has to end differently. Jace froze. What are you saying? She stepped closer. Maybe I should surrender. Don't you dare, Jace snapped. They won't kill me, she said. Not right away. They need me alive. But if I go, maybe they'll leave you alone. No, Jace, no, he shouted. We fight or we die together. But I won't let you give yourself to them. Not now, not ever. Silence fell again. Then Nirali whispered, Do you mean it? When you said we die together? Yes, then let's stop running. He nodded slowly. We turn this ship around. Head straight for the warship. To surrender? To send a message, Jace said, that we're not scared anymore. And if they want war, they'll get one. Nirali placed her hand over his heart. Then I'll stand beside you, not because I'm yours, but because we're each other's. Outside, the stars shimmered. War was coming, but inside the small room, two hearts had made their final choice. No longer pretending, the stars around them shimmered as Jace's ship flew into open space. No more hiding, no more running. Straight ahead, the massive royal warship waited like a dark mountain in the void. Its engines burned red. Its weapons were already charging. Nirali stood beside Jace in the cockpit. She had braided her hair tightly, her silver skin glowing like moonlight. She didn't look afraid anymore. This is it, she said quietly. Jace glanced at her. Last chance to back out. No, she whispered. No more pretending. Number. More silence. Jace sent an open come signal to the royal ship. His voice was calm but firm. This is Jace Ward of Earth. We are not fugitives. We are not your property. We request a direct audience with your commanding authority. There was a long pause. Then a cold, metallic voice replied, Permission granted. Docket Bay 9. Any false move, and you will be destroyed. Jace looked at Nirali. Stay close. They entered the warship's docking bay slowly. Hundreds of armored soldiers waited in rows. Drones buzzed overhead. Weapons were aimed but not fired. The ramp lowered. Jace stepped down first, blaster holstered but ready. Nirali followed, standing tall despite the eyes watching her. A tall alien woman in royal armor approached. Her eyes were sharp. Her voice was colder than ice. Nirali of House Aravex, you have broken your oath. You belong to us. No, Nirali said calmly. I belong to no one. You are a carrier of Class 9 blood. The right to command is within you. The Empire demands your return. I am bonded now, Nirali said. By choice, by ritual. You have no claim on me. The royal officer lifted a scanner and aimed it at her. The results came back instantly. Bond verified. Claim sealed. Murmurs rose through the soldiers. The officer's jaw tightened. That Bond changes nothing. He is unworthy. Jay stepped forward. Unworthy? I've crossed death worlds. I've fought your assassins. I protected her when your own blood left scars on her. She chose me. That makes me more worthy than any of you. The officer snarled. Then you will both die. At once, weapons powered up, but Nirali raised her hands, and for the first time, her true power ignited. A wave of silver light pulsed from her body, stopping every soldier in their tracks. The ship trembled as old command systems deep inside the vessel responded to her presence. Royal signal accepted. Override engaged. Doors slammed shut. Engines stalled. Drones froze in midair. Nirali's voice rang out calm, strong, unbreakable. I was born to be a key, a tool. But today I choose what to unlock. She turned to Jace. Are you ready? Always. Together, they walked into the command center. Every door opened at Nirali's touch. The entire warship obeyed her like a loyal animal. Her blood wasn't just power, it was control. Inside the command chamber, Nirali approached the throne-like control node. She placed her palm on the console. Data streamed across every screen. She spoke one word, release. Across the empires. Systems, ancient slave codes, marriage contracts, and tracking data were wiped. Tens of thousands of women in bondage. Suddenly freed. A cascade of alerts echoed across the galaxy. The royal families began to panic. You just broke their empire, Jace whispered. No, Nirali said softly. I just gave it back to the people. Suddenly, alarms blared. Another ship had entered the sector, an elite strike vessel sent by the High Court. We don't have long, Jace said. They'll retake the ship if we don't go now. I can set the warship to self-delete, Nirali said. Destroy the core systems. Make sure no one ever uses me again. You'll be safe? I will, she nodded. Because you'll be with me. They uploaded the final command, then ran for the docking bay. Behind them, the warship began to collapse, core systems erasing themselves line by line. Memory by memory dot, they escaped just as the engines exploded in a burst of controlled destruction, leaving nothing but silence behind, back in deep space. Floating safely in their ship, Nirali sat beside Jace in the cockpit. Her shoulders finally relaxed. Her eyes no longer held fear. I thought I had to lose everything to be free, she said. But I didn't lose you, Jace smiled. You never will. She leaned her head against his shoulder. So what now? Now? Jace said, guiding the ship toward the stars. Now we live, free, together. For the first time, it wasn't pretend, and it never would be again.